there's there's a variety of elements that contributes to being incompetent man at being a father. One of them, abandoning your children. The other one, being there when you feel like it, not when you need to be. I'm not a father. I have no children. I speak like I do, honestly. I have to be honest about that. And something maybe comes natural to me, but so be it. I have children in my family. I have my sister. She's married. She has children and so on. And I have a father. I have a father from the day one. So there's certain elements that contributes to being an incompetent man at being a father. And these people, just the people in general, use those elements and apply them generically to all men consistently. And that's why society assumes that men are incompetent at being fathers and they value females more. That's one of the main contributing factors.
So just to clarify, you're saying that because of the bad fathers, they just assume it's all of them? Or,
yeah.
Because in my experience, I find that there's a lot of good fathers that don't have access to their children. And a lot of times, like, women are spiteful and don't give them access, and then they'll call them deadbeats, but they're not really deadbeats. It's just because the women won't give them access to their kids.
They're not part of the equation of being incompetent fathers.
Right. But to me, like, I would say they are, because a lot of times, like, it's a different perception. When they're, like, when the kids are younger, they think their dad's a deadbeat, but he's not, and they find out when they're 25 or 30.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I've got a friend personally, actually, who was talking about this the other day. And unfortunately, he's on the hook for child support that for a daughter that he hasn't seen since she was born. He signed away his rights. And when he was in fact forced to pay for the child, he tried to connect with the child, with the young daughter. She's now, I believe, 15 years old. But due to the poisoning of the mum.
Why did he sign away his rights?
Young. I know, in doing so, being young, naive, not really knowing the consequences of doing so, and thinking, a lot of guys make mistakes, take account for it, but in the hope that signing away the rights, because I believe she wasn't from this country, so one of the main reasons so she could leave the country, but in essence she left and came back, started claiming, and got him on the hook, although he signed away. So when he tried to establish a relationship, the poison was already set in the young girl's heart. So up until now, he's not been able to see her.
Wow.
So yeah.
You were going to say something?
So I think if you're signing away your rights as a father at a young age, like, it's natural for a mother to already think, like, okay, he's not putting in the effort to want to be the father to this child. At that time, as you said, like, he changed his opinion, so he probably didn't want to, like, be that involved in the child's life at the time. So I think as a single mom, if you're then raising a child, doing all those things that a two-parent household should really be doing, it's natural to have that toxic feeling. Yes, you shouldn't say it on the child or portray it to the child, but I think any person normally sometimes slips up and they will say things to the children, which is, you're saying, they're like poisoning the idea to the child. But also, to do with the first question, I don't think that society is saying that men shouldn't be appreciated. I think society wants men to be appreciated, but a lot of men aren't doing enough to be able to be appreciated. And I think the same way we have, like, Mother's Day, we have Father's Day, but not as many men are celebrated on Father's Day, because not as many men are playing that role in Father's Day, or playing that role of actually being a father to their child. And a father doesn't mean someone who's just, okay, I'm gonna pay the bills and be a provider. You need to have an emotional connection.
Do you think that's the woman's fault or the man's?
Which one, sorry?
Like, if there's a father that's not involved in the kid's life, whose fault is that?
It's the person who doesn't want to be involved in the child's life.
Wouldn't you say it's the mom's fault for picking him? Because a lot of times I see women picking guys that have, three kids by three different women, and then being shocked when he's not a good dad.
I think that's definitely can be the case. So I think people do need to choose their partners very wisely, because at the end of the day, that's who you're having a child with and you want to raise your child with. But obviously people get into situationships, people fall pregnant, things happen, and a lot of men change as well when they find out that a woman's pregnant. They can be the most loving man ever. He could have love bombed you, made you fall in love with his potential, everything else. And
Wait, love bombing, what is that?
It's like where at the start of a relationship or you start talking to a guy and he tells you everything you want to hear, like what we were saying before, basically women fall in love with what they hear. So men know that. So they'll tell you everything that you want to hear. So you'll fall in love with that potential, hoping he'll be that guy.
Whose fault is that?
Whose fault is that?
Yeah, to fall in love with what you hear.
I don't really buy it when women say they don't know. I just think it's a load of crap. Like, you know damn well that that like the guy is who he is. They see the million red flags and they just don't care.
I'm sure you've been there as a woman. You've seen red flags and just ignored them, right?
Yeah, I've definitely been in that situation, but I think that comes down to you as a person. For me, I want to see the good in people. So, okay, I've seen some red flags, but I've seen good green flags as well. And you want to hope that the green flags will overtake the red flags.
Yeah, but you like red flags.
I don't like red flags anymore. Trust me, I do
A lot of
not
women
like red
do.
flags
Most girls
anymore.
do.
You said anymore, right?
Yeah, anymore. I think it's an
Yeah.
immaturity thing, liking red flags, liking immature men. It's just when you're immature and you haven't gone through that self-growth to realize there's better. But because so many men have red flags, it's hard to find a man who doesn't have any. So you're just trying to find a man with the least number of red
Okay, but
flags.
do you think that's a little bit sexist? Like, what if they were here saying that, oh, all these women have all these red flags and it's really hard to find a woman that doesn't have any red flags?
Like you,
But men
doctor.
do say that.
What?
Men say that as well.
I would say by and large, not as much as women do.
No, because men say women are toxic. So that's the equivalent of saying that.
Do you really feel like it's equal in society?
That what's equal?
That
in
it's equal,
society?
like men and women equally dogging each other?
I think. I think.
Like,
Yeah, I think in the UK they both dog each other.
I
very
mean, men are
badly.
trash. Where does that
Do
come
you think like okay, so if we're under a mantra of men are trash, men are dogs, men are deadbeats, right? How does that play out into fatherhood? You see, so when it comes to the man's role in the household, if we are being told, women are being told, and they're telling their girlfriends that men are trash, men are dogs, men are deadbeats. How do you think that plays out in the way in which women see men once they have their children?
So I don't say men are trash. I think some men are trash. I wouldn't generalize that to all men. Definitely a large proportion of men I've experienced are trash. I'm not going to talk on other women's experiences, but I think.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that a large proportion of men that you personally
no,
experience are trash?
she likes red flags.
I don't like red flags.
But then
No,
why
but-
would they all the ones you've experienced
As
be
in
trash?
before when I was immature, younger, I would go for guys with red flags. That's just due to personal
When
reasons.
did you stop? Would you say what age? You're 24. So when did you stop?
At the start of this year, I got therapy, so
Okay.
I understood why
So it
I
hasn't
liked
been
red
long.
flags.
Yeah.
It hasn't been long.
It
since
hasn't
you-
been long, no, but there's definitely a difference
So
now.
like-
I know what I like now.
So like about a year, around 24. That was when you
Yeah.
stopped. Okay.
So if you were picking trash men, right, and then you got a trash result, right? A lot of the time, exactly what Pearl was saying, women pick trash men, get trash results, and then say men are trash. And it's like, it's not because men are trash, it's because you pick trash men. Because the pool of men that you're choosing from are trash. Do you know what I mean? So that mantra of men are trash is because the majority of women are dealing with trash men.
because the majority of men are trash men.
No.
So I think the pool is a large pool of trash men. That
Okay. So
Thanks for
Well,
that.
maybe speak for yourself. Maybe the men you do. I know a lot of great men.
No, I know a lot of great men too, but I
so-
still think the
I-
majority aren't.
I would say that's not true. I don't think the majority of
It
men
actually
are trash.
matters. It actually matters who raised those men, but you don't know who raised them, so they're trash.
So statistically, right, 80% of women choose 20% of men when they're asked about their ideal partner, right? So 80% of women, there's a pool of 20% of men, roughly, right, who women want, okay? So 80% of women are dealing with 20% of men. And that's the reason why women think that men are trash, because those 20% of men have 80% of women to choose from. So they're going to exercise, a lot of them are going to exercise those options with those 80% of women. So a lot of the time, when you were saying, oh, the men that I dealt with are trash, you're dealing with trash men.
Yeah,
You're-
of course.
Right, okay. So when you say the majority of men
Before.
are trash, you said the majority of men are trash.
But it's not just my
No, but the
experience. Mm-hmm.
majority of men are good men. The majority of men are good men, but
Like-
you don't want
Yeah,
those
like
men.
one in three men are either virgins or haven't had sex in the past year. If girls wanted a guy that could be faithful, they could find one, but we don't want them. So if we're getting cheated on, it's literally our own fault because we pick the guys that can get a bunch of girls.
Check your comments.
Wait, are you on about like men in the UK?
But
Men in the Western
that
world.
are virgin?
Western world's 1 in 3.
That They're what? Sorry,
they're either virgins or haven't under 30. 1 in 3 men under 30 are either virgins or haven't had sex in the past year. So what I'm saying is like a lot of times girls will say things like men are trash, men cheat, da 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 da. But literally like only 5 to 15, maybe 20% of men can cheat. So if we're picking the guys that cheat, how can we complain when we get cheated on? You picked them.
because why would we pick men just because they don't cheat? We want men who don't cheat, who have a good job, who have everything
No, you
else
don't.
too.
Right. But I'm
Yeah,
saying
we do.
if you wanted them, you would pick them. There
But
are guys that have good jobs that don't cheat. You could get an engineer. You get a computer software engineer. They're not known for being dogs.
There were 50 guys that you walked past today didn't even notice. You know those regular guys, the guys that work at Starbucks, the guys that are taking the bins out, the guys
There's a guy in my front security desk. He's single.
Right. You literally walked past 50 guys today that you did not even care about because they didn't match that top 20% of men that you're looking for.
So why should we have to sacrifice the rest of what we want just because he doesn't cheat? Why does the top 20% have to cheat? That doesn't make sense. Just because they have everything else, they don't have to cheat.
Because you're asking men.
Because I think you're living in a fairy tale. Because you lived in a Disney princess world that's told you can have everything. You don't get to have everything.
I don't think.
But I'm saying men and women both have to compromise on things that they want. They probably want girls that haven't slept with a million people, but that's not really common in the Western world. So go ahead.
Yeah, but you also have to look what's the age category of the men that you're approaching, because if they're 30 over, they should be much more mature than being trash.
I don't think age makes a difference.
It
in
does.
maturity.
In men, 100%, million%. Men underdeveloped if they do not get taken care of. 100%, every single male is underdeveloped if they do not get proper fathering. And then they grow up in a man's body that can kill people, and then they go out and become Neanderthals.
And their minds are children.
There you go. Yeah.
So are you saying that in order for a man to be a proper man, a good man, he needs to be raised by a mother and a father?
100%.
Yeah, definitely. I believe
The ideal situation, I believe, is for a man to be raised by both parents. But more importantly, I think